anywhere, what should they be doing?
The answer to this question is so simple that every time I say it, I say, well, it's also very doable. You have got to start by understanding the individual members of your team. When the folks at Work Human did research after the pandemic, when people had gone home to remote work and hybrid work after having been in the office 100% of the time, and they were trying to identify what was the characteristic that made accounted for the employees who were more engaged versus those who were not. So they talked to the employees and they asked those questions. And employees basically what they concluded from the data was that the managers who checked in with their employees consistently were the ones whose teams reported that they were more satisfied with managers and more engaged. Okay, what does checking in with me mean? As if I were in that environment, it would simply mean that you would check in with some pattern that I could expect that I would be sure I would be hearing from you again. It wasn't a one off and then I never saw you again. It was some regularity. It didn't have to be every Friday, but it had to have some regularity. And then it had to be sustained. You had to have done it enough times that after a while I could stop worrying about it because oh, I know I'm going to hear from my manager. And I know when I talk to my manager, it also wasn't only going to be about the work product. I know I'm going to hear from this person with some consistency and regularity, and they're going to talk about me some of the time. And when they talk about me, at first, I might not say much. The second time, I might tell them my daughter's name. By the time we got to the 10th conversation, they might know that I had a cousin I didn't like because my cousin was too tall. I mean, they would know because they'd given it some time to develop this relationship. That formula for engaging employees is universal. And it is also the formula that works for building inclusive work environments. Because you mentioned earlier this notion that what managers tend to do, and sometimes intentionally and just sometimes out of habit and sometimes out of convenience, is talk to the same people, the same few people, and then the rest of the team is just sort of there as like, oh, well, they're worker bees, we're just doing the job. But managers have to be what I call designated hitter leaders. A designated hitter comes onto the field to hit the ball because there are other members of that team who are not as good at hitting balls. So their job is to hit balls further and harder than anybody else on the team. What everybody recognizes is that probably there's only one designated hitter who can do that. But every single manager in an organization has to behave like that. You have to recognize there's no other person on the planet who is Gena's designated hitter. If you're my manager, if you don't do it, who else is going to do it? And every day I'm waiting for you to do it.